Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Lynn. If you are new to my channel, I am Lynn. I am from Vietnam. I have been studying and working in the UK for the last 10 years, and in this year I have decided to take a gap year in which I expand different horizon. Instead of pharmacy, I am a pharmacist working for the NHS, but I'm taking a gap year from that so that I can learn many things in life, especially how to create a meaningful life and what can I do to feel that, and what can we do to pursue a financial freedom life. Okay, so in this video I would like to talk to you about all the lessons that I gathered when we decided to buy a house. So at university, primary focus was completing your degree, and the next stage, and when you start working, you start getting your incomes, and you need to decide whether you would like to settle here. Like if you are like me as an overseas student, are you deciding to move to another country or going back home? Or like me, I decided that I want to settle in the UK with Tristan, so that we had to decide whether we would like to stay renting or getting into the property ladder. If you're living in the UK, you would know that the rate of house building in the UK is really slow, and there's not enough housing to fulfill all the demands that they have. So that's why there's an increase in house prices, and it probably more after the pandemic, when there's actual demands that people would like to move further away from the busy city because people can work from home, or if people decided to grow up and they want to get into some privacy, that they want to move out of their parents' house. This little thing like that we need to take into consideration. We all had to get to a stage in life when we have to make these brain-stretching decisions, and I had to make that decision myself, and I've gathered some lesson along the way. So I thought, why don't I not share it out on my channel so that you can learn something from it? And again, this is just for my own opinions, listen to it. If you find it useful, fair enough. If not, this is just for my experience, so do not judge. In order to pursue financial freedom, we have to know that we have invested our money, our hard-earned money. So the question that we're all asking ourselves is your house an investment, or is it a liability that you have to pay? I mean, mortgage or renting, it costs the most out of your wage. Well, easily 1/3 or 2/3 of your wage will be on housing. You have to come to a decision whether the money that you were putting in there is an investment. So if you have a lump sum of money, so the decision that you have to make now, are you going to invest that money, or would you like to use that lump sum as a deposit to buy your first house? So when I talk about investing in my term is, for me, I'm not a full-time investor, I'm not a trader, so I will not be able to tell you what stock will do well, what stock will not do well. I'm not talking about individual stock, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, something that we're not really familiar with. You are investing, as a rule of thumb, you only invest into something that you are familiar with or you have done. If you're not familiar with it, you need to do enough research so that you know that the money, the hard-earned money that you gather every single month, is invested into something that over the long run will give you benefit. You're not just buying Bitcoin because everyone else around you are buying Bitcoin. Doing enough research and you want to pursue that, fair enough. For me, I don't have time to do that. I will stay away from that for now. When I'm talking about investing, when I compare whether we buy a house or we're investing, I'm just basing my calculation, putting all that lump sum that I have on a Vanguard life strategy for 30 years, and with an average return of 5%. A lot of papers saying that the average return of 30 years could be 10 to 15, and I'm trying to be conservative and to stay at 5%, and it gives me the comparison, the figure that I could compare to if I would use that money as a deposit for a house. And the other factor that you need when you're doing that calculation, I'm going to put the calculation below so that you can use that for your own purposes if you find it useful. And again, if you haven't invested ever on index funds, can think about it. There's a lot of research paper or a fee comparison, because you need to look at the management fee as well. Because when I'm talking about investing, these are the money that I'm going to put out down there for 10 to 20 years as your interest coming up. Compounding works when we're talking about the rate of return that it brings, but it also affects us in terms of the management fee. So when you put your money out there, whether it's robotic or a fund manager managing your money, they need to get paid. Fund price will be different, depends on which funds you are deciding. However, you need to think and putting that into your calculation. What's the management fee that you are paying for them to manage your money? The second part of the equation to make the comparison better in terms of renting or buying is that I am not taking into consideration in terms of the day-to-day bills like electricity, water bills, Wi-Fi or council tax, because if you are renting, you still have to pay for it anyways. You hear a lot of people saying that, oh, don't rent, because if you're renting, you are paying somebody else for mortgages. You're just wasting your money away. Then you have to do the calculation yourself and find out whether it's true or not, because if you are renting somewhere really cheap and you manage to save a lot of money, down in the end you can invest on that money. So I would like to first focus on the renting. What are the benefits of renting instead of buying if we are newly qualified pharmacist and you need to move to different hospitals to gain as much experience as possible, or if you just qualify from your degree, or if you had decided to move out your family, edify of your parents, and you are saving for your deposit. Should you rent or should you buy? Renting is giving us benefit number one is that renting gives us the flexibility, because you are not tied to a mortgage for 10, 15, 20 years. You can rent. The tenancy agreements varies from 6 months to a year, or 2 years if you decide to do rotational for 2 years at one trust, and then you decided to move to other trust to do your specialist training. Or if you are an overseas student like myself and you want to expand to another horizon, go to another country or go back home, little thing like that. Renting give you the flexibility. You can just end the tenancy agreement whenever suits you, as long as you let the landlord know in advance. A friend of mine has moved to Germany, and when I speak to her, she said the majority of Germans, they don't really get into the property ladder. They would happily renting throughout their life instead of buying instead, and that worked for them. And again, the affordability for buying houses is not really easy. Not all young people can get into the property ladder. If you are renting, but your ultimate aim at the end is still aim to have your own house, then you just need to be smart in terms of saving and working hard to boost your deposit so that you can achieve that goal as soon as possible. The cons of buying a house is that if you have a mortgage, you have to pay the interest on that mortgage. So the interest at the moment is really low. Our mortgage rate is at 2%. That could go up further, depends on whether the central bank decided to do. And these are the money that you are not going to get back later, like an interest rate that you are paying for the loan from the bank in order to buy the house. Negative number 3 of owning your own house is that if you own your own house, or is the benefit of renter, is that if you have anything that break down in your house, whether it's dishwasher or washing machine, or your boilers are not working, then you can just ring the landlord and they will fix it for you. However, if you are a homeowner, have to have a sinking fund. These are the fund that you have to have is available there for you. Just God forbid that the boiler stopped working, or the electricity bill's gone up, like the energy bill gone up, or whatever reason, you are liable to pay for all that. The other myth about renting and buying is that people think that you just have to get into the property ladder because the house prices will go up over the long run. It could be true, but it's not 100% true, because it depends on the location. So that's why you have to search for location. If you decide to buy your house and you think that is your investment and you hope that the value of the house will go up, a return based location is that good transport for people, does it have a good development of the city that you're living in, and the house is really less liquidity. When we talk about liquidity, is that if you need a lump sum, if you need to sell your house, it's not like you put it on the market and it could be sold straight away. While if you own a stocks, then you can just sell it. You can do the transaction within the same days. There's no agency fee, there's no solicitors fee. These are the fees that you stress about if you are buying a house or if you are selling your house. When you decided to buy a house, it is not just deposit that you have to save. You have to save for all that fees that's associated with the journey of purchasing your own house. So the next opportunity cost, if you use that lump sum of money for your deposit into your house, or every single month put a big chunk of money into paying for your mortgage, you are missing out a lot of opportunity. You're missing out because that they have any investment opportunity coming up, or if you decided to open your own business, then you won't be able to do that because you have to be using that money. Or for example, for us, when we were saving for Tristan was obsessed with owning Tesla stock, but we couldn't afford it at that point because we decided that we want to save that money into buying a house instead. That That was 3 years ago when Tesla stock was quite low before they like that rocketing so high. So because we're missing that opportunity, like we were gutted that we didn't get into it early when the price of that stock was low. Oh, actually you cannot have everything in life, but then you manage to save enough deposits so that you can reserve into a nice house that you are living in right now. So I have to reassure Tristan that's, you know, it might not be the best decision, but that's the decision that we made. Now we have a roof over our head. And the last benefit in terms of renting is that you always in that mindset of living temporarily in that address, so you don't end up like accumulate in things as much as you do if you have your own house. So if you haven't watched my video about minimalism, so maybe go back to that video on my playlist when I talk about how minimalism is changing my life. By not having a lot of stuff into the house, you are likely to stay away from that consumerism mindset and to buying more, accumulate more stuff as you go along, because you don't want to have all that, and then if you are moving to another places, then you have to carry them with you, and you end up saving more in terms of buying furnitures. You don't have to put in terms of furniture, and you can save that money or go on holiday or invest or do something more useful instead of buying a sofa, a luxurious sofa, that you never get time to sit down. It just there in the living room, taking up a lot of spaces. So I'm gonna put down the calculations that I've used when we decided to whether we should carry on renting or buying. You can use that calculation for yourself to see if are you better off renting or buying. Again, I think as for me, I don't think owning a house is an investment, because you end up having to pay for a lot of maintenance charge for the house. You manage to make money from rent out spare rooms or they have Airbnb. If that's the case, then it is an investment. But if you are not making any profits from owning your house, then it's not an investment, it is a liability. That's enough in terms of the myth, the benefit of renting and the drawback of home owning. Now let's go straight into what are the benefits of owning your own house. So benefit number one, if you have your own house, you have all the freedom, and it's the freedom not just for you, it's for everyone in your family. And if you have decided to have children, they give them the stability, the roof over their head, then which is very different when you are renting. And benefit number two is that you are your own landlord. You can do whatever you like in your house. If you want to hang a lot of pictures, you want to drill into that walls, you can do that. You don't have to ask anybody else. Or if you decided to have like 10 guests that come over, or like if I have I've got extended family that they would like to come and live in my house temporarily while they're looking for places, I don't have to ask the landlord for that. I am my own landlord. When I did my degree, I was lucky enough to stay with my adopted grandparents. They have a spare room and they let me stay in their house for 5 years, and they didn't charge me a single penny, and they didn't have to ask anybody for that. And benefit number three of owning your own house is that you can use this as a long-term commitment. If it is difficult for you to save a lot of money, then actually owning your house, it forces you to saving and budgeting and be tight with your budget. Like I do, I'm a rush spender, and if I didn't have to stretch out over a big debt hanging over my head in terms of mortgage, I would just spend the last penny that I have in my pockets without worrying about it. So the first thing that I get every single when I get paid is that's putting that money aside there for me so that I can pay for the mortgage, because you don't want to miss any payment. The moment any payments are missed, your house will be taken by the banks. The other benefit of owning your house is that if you watch enough of my videos, you know that I'm a strong advocate for financial freedom and investing and making the most out of hard-earned money. And I think it could be like a way of diversifying your investment, so you're not putting all your egg in one basket. You have enough in the stock and share markets and ISA, you have enough in your pension, and you have, if you manage to pay off your house as well, that will be a good diversification for you, and you don't even have to do much thinking and calculations or researching compared to other investments such as stocks, bonds or cryptocurrency. Overall, for me, I'm comfortable that I make the right decision. Owning a house helped me settle into UK much better. If you are from overseas like me, and if you decided to live in the UK for long term and you would like to apply to settle in UK, I think owning a property is giving you an advantage edge that you have settled in the UK, you have had a property under your own name, that's piece of land as in your, wouldn't that be nice? And if you decide to go back home, or if you decide to go to another country, you can always rent that out. If you decided to go back home and come back to UK in 10 years time, you still have a house that you could live. Wouldn't that be nice to have a piece of land under your name, whether you decided to live in it or not? It's a really important benefit about owning your own house is that, talking about mortgage and inflation, I mentioned the inflation term a lot in my videos. Inflation is that when the value of the money go down every single year, and at the moment the inflation rate is at average 2.7% in the UK, but that means the mortgage also go down as well. So at the moment we pay £1,000 every single month for our mortgage. 2022, that £1,000 is 1/3 of our salary, but in 40 years time that £1,000 will not be as much valuable as it is right now today. So as your house prices go up, value of your debt go down. So it's a win-win situation. Our mortgage is stretched over 40 years. At the moment we making extra payment, overpaying our mortgage so that we can shorten the mortgage length, and the more we're paying into our equity, the less debt that we would have when we get into our retirement age, and our mortgage will be less as we get closer to the end. That was all from me today. That was all my lessons that I've gathered when we decided to buy our first house. I hope you find this useful. Again, these are just all based on my own research and observation. If you have learned even just one thing from my video, why not give me a like? Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to see you again in the next video. Take care. Goodbye.